Hey, welcome in TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. This is Jade, TikTok's infamous opinionist. If you haven't followed me on TikTok, head over there and give me a follow. I do daily wrestling content over there that I think you guys will really enjoy. Happy Sunday, everyone. We are live a little bit earlier today than we typically are. My son has a NASCAR race that he wants to watch in a little bit, and I want to let him watch that live. So we're going to go ahead and get the podcast out of the way this morning. I have something fun that we'll talk about in just a few minutes. As we allow people to come in, and we've already got people in. DJ and Aiden are in the comments. What's up, guys? We're going to be doing a women's wrestling tier list for WWE active female performers. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to do that very shortly. I want to go ahead and remind you guys that I am live here on YouTube and Facebook every Sunday. Usually it is at 3 p.m. Eastern, but today we're doing it a little bit early. You can also catch Raw Sports' other shows, The Fantasy Scene, every Monday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. discussing fantasy football, and then the Dump and Chase Premier Hockey Show on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, discussing all the latest news and scores in hockey. And then, of course, I am here, sponsored by Raw Sports, every Sunday for Wrestling with My Thoughts. Before we get into the women's tier ranking here in a few minutes, some interesting things did happen. It was overall a fairly quiet week. Overall, a fairly quiet week in wrestling, but some big things did happen that I want to go ahead and talk about. For instance, on Monday Night Raw, we did see Kofi Kingston answer Bobby Lashley's open challenge. Now, Lashley initially implied early in the night that it might be a chance at the WWE Championship. We had a lot of guys through the night that teased that they might accept that challenge, Sheamus and Damian Priest, just to name a couple. Ultimately, it was Kofi Kingston coming out and accepting Bobby Lashley's challenge. And he won. Now, frankly, I don't think that means a heck of a whole lot that Kofi Kingston won. I think that we are meant to take away Drew McIntyre's involvement in that match more than we are meant to take away that Kofi Kingston actually won. And I know that might hurt some people's feelings, but I do not think this win in the long term means anything for Kofi Kingston. I think that was more meant to get heat from Bobby Lashley's perspective, to get heat on Drew McIntyre, because McIntyre costed him that victory. So we'll see what happens there. On SmackDown, the big thing that happened on SmackDown was the Fatal 4-Way match at the end of the night for the Intercontinental Championship. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Apollo Crews, and Big E put on a fucking show, a fucking clinic. One of the best matches I've seen on WWE television in quite some time. Ultimately, it was Apollo Crews successfully defending the Intercontinental Championship. He pinned Big E, but he only pinned Big E following the return of Aleister Black. Aleister Black returns with a slightly altered look, following all of his cryptic promos over the past number of weeks. And now it looks like we are leading into Aleister Black versus Big E as a rivalry. So that's probably going to be pretty good from a promo perspective, from a match perspective. Obviously, both of these guys are really good. But the Fatal 4-Way match itself, guys, I don't know what happens with Kevin and Sami going out of this. But either way, if you haven't watched that match, go find it. If you have Hulu, go find it and watch it. If you just want to watch the YouTube clips, but as much of that match as you can watch, that was in my opinion, a masterclass on how a Fatal 4-Way match should be done. And you should just go check it out as soon as possible. Obviously, there's a viral thing going around on TikTok right now. I believe it's from the Putting You Over TikTok channel, asking who will take Roman Reigns' Universal Championship and win. And Kentrell Sullivan says, how long will Roman keep the championship? I am estimating, in my best guess, in my professional opinion, humble professional opinion, that Roman will keep the championship until at least SummerSlam. That will either be because, A, there's going to be a big blockbuster match with somebody like The Rock or Goldberg, or because they need a couple of months to build up a credible threat to win the championship. Somebody like a Big E, as Ryan Satin said on TikTok the other day. Somebody like a Big E, where he gets a big win over Aleister Black and maybe another win over a Sami Zayn or Jey Uso or somebody like that, and then we eventually see a built-up Big E challenge Roman Reigns at SummerSlam and possibly win it. Now, I think it's more likely that WWE will try and capitalize on the live crowd by bringing in The Rock or Goldberg or somebody like that. So, but as far as win, I think that SummerSlam is at the very least what we're going to be seeing. On AEW Dynamite this week, we had, as you might expect, and as AEW usually is able to create, several good matches, couple of decent storyline progressional things. AEW is always going to end up focusing on the elite. They put that off at the beginning by not putting titles on Cody Rhodes or Kenny Omega or the Young Bucks. But now, as you might expect, we are getting a lot of elite in all elite wrestling. That's not completely a bad thing. I mean, the Young Bucks are great. Kenny Omega is great. Cody's okay. But I think we're getting away from what made AEW great in the beginning, and that was bringing in the Young Bucks or the relative unknowns, taking the people that were super successful in the indies and translating that onto the big stage. When's the last time that we saw Joey Janela in a televised match? When's the last time that we saw Hangman Page in any sort of meaningful match that wasn't a joke match like with Matt Hardy or joking around with the Dark Order? So I think that while it's okay to focus on the elite for now, I hope they're able to get back to what brought them to the dance at some point. Other big thing going on Dynamite is obviously the Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle. The Inner Circle did have a group promo that was pretty good and accepted the Pinnacle's challenge for Stadium Stampede at Double or Nothing. And if the Inner Circle lose, they must disband as a group. Now, I'll do Double or Nothing predictions next Sunday. Right now, I'm leaning Pinnacle. I am leaning Pinnacle because I think it's time for the Inner Circle to go away, and I think it's time for the Pinnacle to take over as the top group in AEW. So that's where I'm leaning. I haven't gotten a chance to watch Impact this week, so if you have questions about Impact, go ahead and put them in chat, and I'll try and answer them. Go ahead and answer some questions before we move on to our women's tier ranking. Do you think if Hikaru Shida was in WWE, she would be the best woman in NXT? Sorry if my English is bad. That's okay, Dylan. Don't worry about it. I get the gist of the question. Yeah, I like Hikaru Shida a lot more than I do a lot of the women on NXT currently. I like her more than Raquel Gonzalez. I like her more than Io Shirai. I like her more than Dakota Kai, Shautzi Blackheart, Indy Hartwell. I think that the talent on the AEW women's division overall is better than the talent on the NXT women's division. I just think the booking in the NXT women's division has been so much better than the booking for the AEW women's division. Whoever's booking the AEW women's division needs to be fired. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. And I don't know if it's Brandy or if it's Cody or if it's Tony Khan or Kenny or who it is. Somebody needs a kick in the shorts as far as the booking of that AEW women's division. The stories are super inconsistent. They're champions while having long reigns aren't made to look that strong because they're not building anyone up to be a credible threat to them. So, yes, I like Hikaru Shida. Amanda, hello, my biggest TikTok fan. How are you, ma'am? Thoughts long-term with the Usos Roman family storyline? What's the end game? The end game is that eventually Roman gets his comeuppance. I think that Jay is going to turn on him. I think Jay and Jimmy are going to fail to be able to stop Roman, and I think it makes a lot of sense if Jay and Jimmy go back to the family, bring in The Rock, and The Rock teaches Roman the error of his ways. But I hope they keep Roman Reigns a heel for a long time. I hope they don't just make him a babyface again. Becky Lynch signed a new contract. Looks like she's ready to return. Think it'll be SummerSlam when she returns. You think she will face or she will go to Raw or SmackDown? That's a lot. I don't know. I think she's needed on Raw more than she's needed on SmackDown. I think Bianca and Bayley and Sasha are doing an excellent job of carrying the women's division on SmackDown. I think she's needed more on Raw. I think she'll bring more eyes back to Raw. And I think we could see her go against Charlotte. Rhea would be a good match. Shayna Baszler would be a good match. Look, the Raw women's division has excellent talent. Naomi, Shayna, Charlotte, hopefully Becky coming in, Asuka. They're just booked like trash. Booked like absolute garbage. So, moving on, guys. Let's do what we came here to do. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can share my screen with you guys. And we are going to do this one right here. Guys, let me know in chat if you can see this okay. Let me know in chat if you can see this okay. How does that look? How does that tier list look? Can you guys see it all right? Are you able to read the tiers? Can you see the pictures clearly? Go ahead and put in chat what your thoughts are on how that looks real quick. I can do that if I need to. It's a little small, a little blurry. Okay. What if we just go full screen? Does that look better? Just take my face out of the equation for now. And I'm going to be reading, obviously. Okay. And the colors will dictate the tiers as well. So you guys will be able to keep up. Aiden says, yeah, for now. Okay. A little non-committal, but okay. That's probably as good as I can do. I might be able to zoom in a little bit. Let's see. What about that, chat? How does that look? I've zoomed in a little bit. How does that look? Go ahead and give me some feedback in chat before I get started, guys. How does that look? I zoomed it in a little bit. Better? Okay. Cool. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and get started. So as you can see, and first of all, I should say, there are a lot of women on this list that are either I don't know who they are because I don't like NXT UK. I don't pay a lot of attention. I know a couple of them. Or they have been fired. I'm not going to put anyone on the list that I don't know where they are because I can't make a fair estimation of their abilities. I'm not going to put anyone on the list that has been released or has left the company. These are active performers only. It is the female roster from Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. So we have 5 tiers. Starting from the bottom, we have the Land of Loathing. This is where any female performer that I absolutely detest watching, that are offensive, that they are even on the roster based on their ability and based on their acting and based on all of it combined. The next tier up, we have Skip. That's the Skip tier because that's what I say when I'm watching Raw, SmackDown, or NXT on like recorded, and then it gets to their matches. I'm not offended that they're there. I just don't want to watch it, so I skip them. So that's the next to last tier. The middle tier says, I'll watch, but it depends on who they're facing. And that basically is what it says. It can't get any more clear than that. They are capable of having good matches that I enjoy watching, but only if they're paired up with someone that I believe is able to carry them and give them a little bit of a boost. In tier 2, we have, if they're on, I'm watching. If I hear that they have a match, I am going to watch because I know that something special can and probably will happen. And then the top tier, we have Take My Money. That means that no matter what they are doing or who they are facing or what kind of match they are in, I want to see it. And I would pay extra money. If WWE had downloadable content, if they said, you can only watch this person wrestling if you give us extra money on top of what you're paying on Peacock, I would pay that extra money. Okay? And we're going to be placing these people through this list. Does anyone have any questions about the rules that I've just laid out? Any at all? If not, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is going to be a lot of fun. Now, when I do this, I'm going to be opening the window, and I'm not going to be able to see comments while I'm doing it. So I'll come by and check comments every 5 or so picks. So if you're leaving comments, I will come and look at them. Okay? Here we go, guys. Let's get started. They are listed pretty alphabetically here. I'm going to start with Aaliyah from NXT. Aaliyah, I'm going to have to put in the skip section. Don't enjoy her matches, even when she's with somebody good. I don't enjoy her. I understand why she's on TV based on her look and based on her character and all that. I understand why she's used. So she doesn't make it quite to the land of loathing, but she's going to be in tier 4 skip. We have, I believe, some of the pictures are hard for me to see. I believe this is Mercedes Martinez. I'm going to put her in tier 3. I'll watch, but it depends on who they're facing. Look, I know that there's a lot of people who have respect for Mercedes Martinez based on what she's done on the indies and stuff like that. She's a striker, which might be one of the things that turns me off about her. I'm not really big on performers who are just strikers. I like them to be able to do a little bit more. She is kind of a powerhouse, but she's mostly a striker. So I'm going to put Mercedes Martinez on tier 3. Then we have Shautzi Blackheart, and Shautzi, a couple of months ago, she probably would have been in the skip category. She's grown on me a little bit. She's still not one of my favorites. I'm going to put her on tier 3 with Mercedes Martinez. I'll watch, but it depends on who they're facing. If she's wrestling someone that's in my top 2 tiers, I'll definitely watch it. If she's wrestling someone in my bottom 2 tiers, I'm probably going to skip the match. Okay. Then we have Alexa Bliss. Now, Alexa Bliss is going to be high. Old Alexa Bliss, like just the standard heel trope Alexa Bliss, would have been in tier 2 if they're on I'm watching. I think with Fiend Alexa or Lily Alexa, she's kind of gone up into the take my money category. Yeah, Alexa's take my money. Obviously, when she was the standard heel trope, she was a great wrestler, great character, beautiful, sexy. Obviously, completely different now with this character, but I think in a good way. So we're going to go Alexa Bliss. She is the first member of the Take My Money tier. Let's go ahead and go with Dakota Kai as the next one. I think Dakota Kai, back when she was a babyface, she was kind of tier 3. I'll watch, but it depends on who they're facing. I think ever since her heel turn, I think she moves into tier 2 for me. If they're on, I'm watching. If Dakota Kai has a match, I am going to watch it because she was a good wrestler before when she was like a white meat babyface. But now she has moved up sort of into the next tier for me, obviously. So if she's on, I'm watching. Let's check the comments. DJ says they could do more with Mercedes. They absolutely could. And DJ also says that Shautzi teaming with Ember really won him over. Yeah, I think that helped me as well because we'll talk about Ember Moon in a little bit. Let's talk about Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke, without hesitation, and I take no pleasure in saying this, Dana goes into the land of loathing. I am not a fan of Dana Brooke at all. When she comes on TV, not only do I skip, I exhale a huge sigh of stress and of annoyance. I don't like when she talks. I don't like how she looks. I don't like how she wrestles. I don't like how she's booked either. Look, a lot of these decisions on where I put people, obviously booking is going to go into it. Maybe she's got more than she's been able to show me, but based on what she's been able to show me with how she performs and how she acts and all that, unfortunately, Dana is going to be the first member of our Land of Loathing club. All right, so the list is kind of balanced right now. I'm not doing these in any particular order. I'm just kind of grabbing them as they come to mind. Let's talk about Kylie Ray. Kylie Ray is the NXT UK Women's Champion. And I think I'm going to put her in if they're on, I'm watching. Kylie Ray is an excellent performer. She's an excellent heel. She's a good champion. Really, it doesn't matter who she's wrestling. If I hear that she has a match, I'm going to turn it on. Let's stick with NXT UK and let's do Piper. I'm sorry, I believe her last name is Piper Biven. I'm going to put her on I'll watch, but it depends on who they're facing. Obviously, with her size, she has a... Now, she's still pretty athletic, but she has a fairly limited moveset. If she was performing with a Nia Jax or someone who was similar to her size, I probably wouldn't be interested. But if she's with someone that'll make her pick up the pace and stuff like that, I'd probably be a little bit more into it. Let's talk about Carmella. Carmella used to be in the if they're on, I'm watching category. She has suffered from booking. And as such, I'm going to move her into I'll watch, but it depends on who they're facing. Because everything with Carmella is either she is squashing someone or she is being squashed. And when I turn on SmackDown and I see who she's facing, that immediately informs whether or not I'm going to watch Carmella wrestle. So hopefully she'll be able to move back up if they start booking her a little bit better. But for now, that's where she is. Let's talk about Asuka. And Asuka, for me, one of my top 10 favorite wrestlers of all time. And she is going to go into the take my money category. I would pay extra money into Peacock if I had to just to see Asuka wrestle. Especially with how she shined and really carried the women's division through the empty arena and Thunderdome era. I got a lot of respect for Asuka, even more than I had before. So she goes into top tier. DJ agrees with Dakota. Dylan says, I really wish that they would use Dakota correctly. DJ says they try to make her seem like a powerhouse, but I'm not buying Dana Brooke. I'm not buying Dana Brooke either, which is why she's in the bottom tier. So, by the way, this tier is available for you guys on tiermaker.com if you want to go do this for yourself. All right, let's continue on. Let's grab someone who doesn't really do much right now. Let's grab Zaya Lee. Zaya Lee used to be in the skip category. Now she has moved. Is she tier 3 or tier 2? You know, I don't think ever since they've come up with this new character arc for her, I don't think I've skipped any of her matches because I always going to see what. So I'm going to put if they're on, I'm watching. That's where I'm going to put Zaya Lee. She's a great performer. She's got a unique style. I just thought that as a babyface, she didn't have much of a character aside from, hey, look at me, I carry a big fan and I like to kick people. But ever since they started all this evil stuff and like the torture karate chamber or whatever, I like it. So yeah, I'm going to put her on. If they're on, I'm watching. Tier 2. Let's go to Mia Yim. And I know a lot of you might be a fan of Mia Yim. It has nothing to do with her booking because even in NXT when she was being booked relatively well, I felt this way. Mia Yim is going to the skip category. I can't get into her. I don't like her character, whether that was Reckoning or her character, the bad bitch or whatever it was in NXT. I just can't do it. I can't get into Mia Yim, and I skip all of her matches. Again, I understand why she's there. Her ability and her character probably connects with a lot of people. It just doesn't land with me. So if Mia Yim is on, I am skipping it. Let's talk about Ember Moon. She was brought up earlier, and I'm putting Ember Moon in the if they're on, I'm watching category. Back in her original days of NXT, she would have been in the take my money category. Her booking is, again, lowered her down the list, but I love her character. I love the way that she performs in the ring. I love her energy. She just lands with me. She connects with me, and I'm excited to see her when she's on TV. So she goes tier 2. Let's talk about Naomi. Listen, I am not giving up on Naomi. In fact, I'm putting Naomi in the take my money category, tier 1. And a lot of you guys may not like that based on the way that she's been booked. But Naomi is the kind of person that even when she's not being booked well, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, come on, just let her do it. Just let her wrestle. Come on. And I'm just hoping that any week now, Naomi just bursts out of this tag team hell that she's in with Lana. And she's able to get back where she belongs at the top of the division. Speaking of Lana, where are you at, Lana? Lana. Used to be Land of Loathing. In fact, when she was doing all that stuff with Bobby Lashley in 2019, she was probably even lower than the Land of Loathing. But I can respect the improvements that she's made in the ring. So, no, she's going to skip. She's going to tier 4. I skip it. The only reason I watch any of her matches right now is because Naomi is wrestling with her. If Naomi wasn't there, I'd be skipping everything that she does. So, yeah, sorry, Lana. I respect the improvements that she's made, but she's going to skip. Let's talk about Nikki Cross. I am a big fan of Nikki Cross. She doesn't get booked. I want to put her in my top 2 tiers, but the fact that she doesn't get booked at all means I have to put her in top 3. But I reserve the right to immediately move her into one of the top 2 tiers as soon as she starts getting booked again. As soon as she starts having matches, she moves up. Brody says, I feel like if Naomi was booked better, that would be a good ranking, maybe tier 2. I agree. But again, Naomi is just someone that connects and lands with me. And so I put her in tier 1 just based on good faith. That's a good faith ranking. I freely admit that. It's a good faith ranking. Moving on. Who do I want to grab next? Let's do Charlotte. I'm going to put her in the middle and talk about Charlotte for a minute. She's not going to stay there. Charlotte is kind of the new Roman Reigns. Not even of the female division, just overall. Charlotte is the new Roman Reigns of WWE because she is booked regardless of what the crowd or what the people or what the fans think of her. No matter what you think of her as a fan or how overrated or overused or overhyped you think she is going to be booked, and she is going to be booked strong. She is going to be booked as a consistent and constant real threat for the women's championship of whatever show she is on. And if you don't like that, there's nothing you can really do. Nothing I can do for you. You're just going to have to get over it. Charlotte is a great performer. Charlotte is a great promo person. Charlotte is athletic. Charlotte is strong. Charlotte does things in the ring that she doesn't look like she should be able to do, and she does. So Charlotte, for me, goes in if they're on, I'm watching, because there's always something going on with Charlotte. Everything that Charlotte does means something. This is the first case that we have on this list so far where her placement on this list is almost entirely because of her booking. If Charlotte is wrestling, something important is happening. So that combined with the fact that I can respect her abilities in the ring and on the mic puts her in tier 2. If she's on, I'm watching. While we're being controversial, let's go ahead and talk about Io Shirai. Io Shirai goes in. Skip. Tier 4. Now, we don't have very many people watching right now, only 3, but, hopefully we'll have some video on demand people watching. And I don't know that there's going to be very many people that watch this and agree. I think a lot of people might be pretty upset over that with Io Shirai being in skip. Has nothing to do with her heel character. Has nothing to do with her babyface character. Neither one of them landed for me. They book her as the genius of the sky, and she can do all these amazing things. I've seen her do a couple of planches, a couple of suicide dives, and she does a moonsault that almost never lands accurately. She almost always lands on the person's head, on the person's legs, or has her legs land on the other person's body. I don't like her promo work. And listen, it has nothing to do with her accent or with her broken English, because I love Asuka's promo work. There's just something about Io Shirai that doesn't land with me. So when Io Shirai is on TV, listen, I'm going to be completely honest. I skipped almost the entirety of her NXT Women's Championship reign. I every time she wrestled, title match or not, I skipped to the end because I don't like watching Io Shirai matches. So, hate me if you want, but Io Shirai goes in tier 4. Let's get a little bit more positive and let's talk about Bayley. And for me personally, Bayley, especially after her heel turn goes in, take my money. Tier 1. She was probably more tier 3 back when she was when she was in NXT. Let me say this. When she was on NXT, it was take my money. When she made her initial Raw debut, it was if she's on, I'm watching. For the last couple of years before her heel run, it was I'll watch, but it depends. And then now that she is a heel, and now that she's carried SmackDown through the COVID era, she's in the take my money category. Her promo work is gold. Everything she does to me is funny. Her matches are always 5-star to me. Her matches with Sasha and with even with Lacey Evans and the story that she told with Sasha all through the summer that culminated in Sasha's win. I was pissed that she wasn't on WrestleMania, furious that the only spot they had for her on WrestleMania was being thrown down the ramp by the fucking Bella Twins. So Bayley is take my money category, tier 1, all the way. On the opposite spectrum, we have Nia Jax, and Nia Jax is going to the land of loathing. Nia Jax is going to the land of loathing. The reason that Nia Jax is going to the land of loathing, and I'm going to put my face on camera when I say this, every time Nia Jax wrestles, I always have to concern myself with whether or not she's going to hurt someone. I think that Nia gets a lot of hate that she doesn't deserve because if she couldn't wrestle, she wouldn't be there. I think that she can wrestle. She's clumsy. I think there's a reason that was part of her character with the my whole stuff. I think she's clumsy. Every time she leg drops someone, it looks like she's going to break their head. She power bombs people into the turnbuckle with reckless abandon. And they book her in ways that make me just cringe. When she was screaming last summer, the my whole stuff, the stuff with Reginald, I don't like any of it. I personally think that Nia could be great, but I think that she needs to learn more about safety in the ring. And that's just my opinion. I don't want to hate on her. I'm not going to say she can't wrestle. I think everyone in WWE can wrestle in some capacity. With me, I just think she's dangerous. And I don't like her character. I don't think that's her fault because I see her on TikTok and she seems very approachable and nice and fun, but her character is god-awful. So that's my opinion on Nia Jax. She goes into the land of loathing, tier 5. Let's get a little bit more positive. Let's talk about Toni Storm. Toni Storm, for me, goes into... based on her booking right now, she has to go into All Watch, but it depends. Tier 3. Again, I know that she's super popular. She was super popular on the indies and stuff, and then she was super popular in NXT UK. When she transitioned to NXT, she lost a little bit of steam. So I'm going to put her in tier 3 for now. Kaden Carter, that's an interesting one. Again, I think she has potential, and I think I could get interested in Kaden Carter's matches. But for now, I'm going to have to go skip. She doesn't usually do much of relevance on NXT. She's a great performer, very athletic. I like her look. She's got an interesting look, catches your eye. But right now, based on her booking and based on the kind of matches they put her in, I'm going to have to go with skip. Indy Hartwell. I think this is Indy Hartwell. I'm pretty sure that's Indy Hartwell. If it's not, forgive me, but I'm going to talk about it like it's Indy Hartwell. Indy Hartwell, back before she was in the way, was a skip. She got a major boost teaming with Candice LeRae and being near Johnny Gargano. As a tag team, because I think that's the only way she's worked for me, I'm going to put Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell on If They're On, I'm Watching. Now, Candice would have been in tier 2 by herself. Like, Candice, no matter what, was going to be in tier 2. But Indy Hartwell gets a boost, and she goes with Candice LeRae. And they, as a tag team, go into tier 2. I think they're going to be great tag team champions. I love the stories they tell with Dexter Lumis. I think the promos are funny. So, yeah, Candice and Indy. Indy gets a boost from Candice, and both of them go into tier 2 together. Let's talk about Natalia. Natalia isn't quite in the land of loathing because, again, I understand why she's on TV. I don't understand why Dana and Nia are on TV right now with their current skill set or the way they're booked. Natalia was at the forefront of the women's revolution. She's a member of the Heart Dungeon. I understand why she's there, but I don't want to watch her matches, so she goes into Skip. And you know what? While we're doing tag teams, Tamina, she can go into Skip as well. Tamina, if we had done this 2 months ago, Tamina would have been right down here in the land of loathing because her super kicks are awful. Her splash is inconsistent. She has almost no moveset to speak of aside from clothesline, body slam. But maybe I'm getting a little bit emotionally involved with this pick because I saw her cry about winning a championship, and I could see how much that meant to her, and that tells me how much the business means to her. And because of that, I'm going to put her in the Skip category. I know that sounds counterintuitive. I just can't put her any higher because I don't care who Tamina is wrestling. I don't care who Natalia is wrestling. If they're on, I'm skipping. And that's just me. Looks like I'm getting some agreement with Nia Jax in the chat. So, yeah. All right. Moving on. Let's talk about getting low on people that are still active. Let's talk about Katie Catanzaro. Katie goes into the I'll watch, but it depends category because Katie is still very green in the ring. She's not featured a whole lot because I don't think her commitment to wrestling is what they NXT wanted it to be. But she's capable of pulling off some really cool stuff. A lot like her, is it boyfriend or husband, Ricochet? I'm honestly not sure, but she's capable of pulling off some really cool stuff. So I'm going to put her in tier 3. I'll watch, but it depends. Lacey Evans also goes into tier 3. No, Lacey goes to tier 4. Skip. I can't think of the last time that a Lacey Evans match came on and I didn't fast forward to the end of it. Yeah, she goes into tier 4. Skip. Mandy Rose. You know what? Mandy is, yeah. Mandy's going to go into the land of loathing. Look, she's attractive. What else does she got? She's got a big boot, I think. She's got a Bronco Buster. Maybe it's just her association with Dana Brooke. Maybe for me personally, if you're around Dana Brooke that much, it eventually rubs off on you and you get poisoned. But even before that, the stuff with Otis was fun, right? But that was more because of Otis than Mandy. So, yeah, and it's the inconsistent booking with her. Like, do you like her or not? Because sometimes they make her look like the biggest deal, and sometimes she's in a tag team with Dana Brooke losing to Shayna and Nia every week. So, yeah, Mandy goes to the land of loathing, unfortunately. Becky Lynch, however, I struggled with this one a lot as I was prepping to do this show on whether or not I was going to put Becky in the take my money category. But the more I think about it, the more I don't get excited for her matches the same way that I do a Bayley or an Asuka. I don't get excited for her to be on TV the same way I do an Alexa. And again, maybe it seems silly to have her in tier 2 and Naomi in tier 1 based on the way she was booked and the way she carried the women's division in 2018 and 2019. But just for me personally, I can understand. Now Becky's act did grow stale a little bit, so maybe that has something to do with it. In the end of 2018, maybe she would have been in the take my money category, but for me personally right now, I'm going to put her on tier 2. But when she returns, maybe she'll work her way back up. The Riot Squad. The Riot Squad, Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott, again, this is a product of their booking almost entirely, are going to go into the skip category because nothing they do mean anything. Ruby could potentially be as high as tier 2 because I've seen what she can do in the ring. Liv is probably always going to be in this tier 3 and tier 4 category for me. Right now, based on booking, we're going to go skip. We'll see what happens with Money in the Bank, but right now they're in tier 4. Getting down to the nitty-gritty here. Let's talk about Raquel Gonzalez. She's the NXT champion. For me, she's tier 3. I'll watch, but it depends on who they're facing. I think that's Raquel. Again, these pictures are kind of hard to tell sometimes, but I think that's Raquel. Raquel goes in tier 3. She's capable of having good matches, and I look forward to the eventual blow-up between her and Dakota Kai. But right now, I'm not a huge fan. Tegan Knox also goes into tier 3. And she gets a lot of love from NXT and the production staff. She's so injury prone. She's so injury prone. She can't stay in the ring. So maybe if she can show me that she can stay healthy for a while, maybe she'll start moving up. But right now she's tier 3. I'll watch, but it depends. Should I put Sonya? I'm not going to put Sonya Deville on the list because she hasn't been a full-time wrestler for so long. A couple years ago, Sonya Deville was in If They're On, I'm Watching. And if they ever put her back in the ring and let her get to work again, I think she'll be back in that tier again. Shayna Baszler. Just need to scroll up a little bit. Shayna Baszler stays in Take My Money. Again, maybe there's a little bit of good faith in this because of her partnership with Nia Jax. I don't think the team has actually been that bad. They've been booked really strong. They've been entertaining at times. I think Shayna has been a really good influence on Nia. Maybe this is a good faith ranking because I still remember how fucking dominant and how fucking cool and how fucking dangerous she was in NXT. Every time she was in the ring, I was like, oh shit, somebody's getting hurt and it's going to be fun to watch. I was really excited when she came up and wrestled Becky at WrestleMania. Shayna still should have gone over. One of the worst booking decisions I've ever seen was putting Becky over Shayna when she came up. Shayna should have dominated that match and won, but she didn't. So Shayna for me is Take My Money tier. Again, there are people that I'm skipping based on either I don't have experience with them or they have been released. There's only a couple of real active names here left. Ria Ripley, for me, goes in tier 3. I'll watch, but it depends on who they're facing. She's a Raw Women's Champion right now, which is good. She's had great matches with Asuka and Charlotte. But I skipped everything she did with Aaliyah and the Robert Stone brand. Didn't like her versus Io Shirai. So, yeah, depends on who she's watching. She's pretty much the definition of my tier 3. Depends on who she's facing. Sasha Banks, I quarreled over this for a little bit as well. Sasha goes into If They're On, I'm Watching. Not quite Take My Money tier. If you were to tell me that I had to pay extra money for her, I wouldn't be able to watch her matches. I probably wouldn't be that upset about it. But when she does come out, I'm like, all right, the boss is here. Sasha Banks is here. That means something good is probably going to happen. But I wouldn't pay extra money to have her on my network the same way I would these ladies up top. Who do we have left? Do we just have the one? I think we only have one name left, guys, because like Stephanie's on here. Bourne is on here. Zelina Vega is on here. Marina Shafir. Kairi Sane. There's a lot of expired names on here, and I'm not going to rank Ronda Rousey. So there's only one name left on my tier list, guys. That's Bianca Belair, and she goes into Take My Money. I popped like hell when she won the championship at WrestleMania. I get excited every time she comes out. I'm like, all right, fuck yeah, Bianca's here. Shit yeah, it's going to be awesome. Awesome promo work, awesome character, capable of doing almost anything in the ring. Amazing, amazing, amazing work, Bianca Belair. And I look forward to seeing what else she can do. Guys, let's go ahead and do a final review. Let's see how my tier list turned out. Let's see. We do this. We do this. There we go. So let's see how my tier list turned out. So in the bottom tier, the Land of Loathing, we have Dana Brooke, Nia Jax, and Mandy Rose. Again, these are performers, female performers in WWE that I struggle to figure out why they are even a thing. Why are they booked? Why are they on TV? Why are you putting them in front of my eyes? Please get them away. In the skip category, I understand why they are booked on WWE, but I do not want to watch their matches. We have Aaliyah. We have Mia Yim. We have Lana. We have Io Shirai, Kaden Carter, Natalia, Tamina, Lacey Evans, and the Riot Squad. Tier 3, I'll watch, but it depends on who they're facing. Mercedes Martinez, Shautzi Blackheart, Piper Niven. I believe that's her name. I'm sorry. I'm struggling to remember her last name. Carmella, Nikki Cross, Toni Storm, Katie Catanzaro, Raquel Gonzalez, Tegan Knox, Ria Ripley. Tier 2, if they're on, I'm watching. I'm going to watch everything that they do, and I'm excited when they wrestle, but I wouldn't necessarily pay extra money to see them wrestle. Dakota Kai, Kylie Ray, Zaya Lee, Ember Moon, Charlotte, The Way. Again, Indy Hartwell gets a big boost from being in a team with Candice LeRae. Otherwise, she might be a couple steps down. Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks. And in my top tier, my God tier, the take my money category, the women that if WWE were to tell me you can only watch these women wrestle if you pay extra money to do so, I would do it. We have Alexa Bliss, again, getting a boost from her Lily character. She'd be down one tier if she didn't have the Lily character. Asuka. Naomi is a good faith ranking because I believe in her ability and I'm ready for her to get a big push. Bayley, Shayna Baszler, Bianca Belair. My God tier. Take my money. And there it is, guys. There is my active WWE women's wrestler tier ranking. Looking forward to seeing what you guys think of it in the comments. I've got a couple of minutes left here if you want to give me your thoughts in the comments now. Let me know if there's any changes that you would make. Is there anybody that you would put higher? Anybody that you would put lower? Aiden says, I agree with most of these. And also says that Naomi is amazing and the Becky act got a little stale. DJ says, for the most part, I agree with it. Brody says, I wonder if they were trying to boost Nia by teaming her with Baszler. I don't think that was their thinking at first. I think WWE just said, hey, look, here's these two women and we don't know what to do with them. Let's put them together. But I think Nia, by proxy, did get a boost from Shayna Baszler. MLQ says, how's Becky not in tier 1 and Naomi is? Again, MLQ, I freely admit that Naomi, for me, is a good faith ranking. I am a huge proponent of Naomi. I am a huge supporter of Naomi. I am a huge fan of Naomi. I want to see her wrestle. So I put her as a good faith ranking. Aiden says the man gimmick got really cringe. I don't think it got cringe. I think it got stale. It went from the point of, oh, yeah, she's the fucking man to, okay, I get it. Ha ha. It's a funny pun, right? It kind of became a caricature of itself. And that's one thing Chris Jericho said on the Stone Cold podcast is that he never wanted to become a caricature of Chris Jericho or a parody of Chris Jericho. And I think Becky Lynch became a parody of herself. Like I said, in 2018, 2019, Becky would have been take my money tier, but I think she became a parody of herself over the last year or several months of her run. So hopefully she'll make some changes coming back. Aiden says Lacey is simply boring. I don't disagree. Aiden also said Nia Jax is not safe and is a bad character. MLQ agrees Nia Jax is dangerous, just like Ryback. Yep. Candy says, is Io Shirai? Yeah, Io Shirai is overrated. And my very first episode on TikTok of things in wrestling that I should love, but I don't, Io Shirai was the subject of that very first episode. Yep, Io Shirai is definitely overrated in my eyes. DJ says, Asuka is probably my favorite women's wrestler right now. I love her character and charisma. She's probably my favorite women's wrestler of all time. If Bianca Belair ends up having a successful career, Bianca could catch her, though. Brody says, how do you feel about the split with the Fiend and Alexa? Look, I've done TikTok videos on this. If you want to go back and see my history with it. I didn't understand the ending at WrestleMania. If they wanted to split up Alexa and the Fiend, I think it should have waited until after Mania. What I'm hearing is that originally the Fiend was going to win, but then Vince decided that with a live crowd, they wanted to start the show off with the good guy getting the win. So they changed the ending. Randy Orton was the good guy in that scenario. It's just another example of how disconnected that Vince is from the crowd. That he wouldn't foresee that the crowd would boo the hell out of that ending the way that they did. I look forward to seeing what Alexa does with her Lily character. I don't know how you tell the Fiend Bray Wyatt, the man who sells more merchandise than almost anybody else in the company, I don't know how you tell that man we don't have anything for you right now, because apparently that's what he's being told. There were rumors that he was struggling with mental health issues, but those were kind of debunked. Right now, he seems to not be booked because WWE doesn't know what to do with him, which is stupid as hell. There are all kinds of things you could do with him. So those are my thoughts. Guys, a reminder that Wrestling with My Thoughts is live every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Typically, I moved it up today because I had other things going on later this afternoon. Make sure you tune in every Sunday. If you haven't subscribed on YouTube or given me a like on Facebook, go ahead and do so. My show was produced by the Raw Sports Network. You can also catch their other shows at 7 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays for the Dump and Chase Hockey Show, and every Monday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the fantasy football scene. Just a quick plug there. Who is Alexa going to feud with? I don't know. I honestly have no idea. They teased that it was Shayna Baszler. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think the Shayna Baszler character works with that kind of story. MLQ says, who do you think is going to be Lily? Listen, you guys have this obsession. You had this obsession for years of who is Sister Abigail? And now everyone is obsessing with who is Lily. Lily could just be the fucking doll. Lily doesn't have to be anybody. Why does Lily have to be Nikki Cross? Or why does Lily have to be Eva Marie or whoever else? Lily is the doll. That's who I think is going to be Lily. Lily is going to be the doll. The doll is going to be Lily. I think it's a spirit that Alexa Bliss listens to and abides by or whatever. I don't think that the spirit of Nikki Cross is possessing that doll. So, no. Shayna's booking right now. I wouldn't put her in the top tier. Again, maybe there's some good faith stuff in there because I remember what she was capable of in NXT, and she's just a legitimate badass. I don't think Bray Wyatt should leave WWE. I don't think the AEW's production team is capable of handling The Fiend. It wouldn't work with a small crowd. So, no. Bray Wyatt is right where he needs to be. He just needs to be booked. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and cut it off because my kid's got a NASCAR race to watch at 1:30. I appreciate all of you guys being on with me. If you haven't followed on TikTok, go ahead and do that now. If you haven't subscribed on YouTube or liked on Facebook, go ahead and do that now. I am Jade Lowe, a.k.a. the Infamous Opinionist. This has been Wrestling with My Thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.